Build a mind so strong it scares people. You've heard quotes like that before, right? But this one's different because deep down you know you're tired of being too soft with yourself. You're tired of second guessing. You're tired of folding under pressure. What if your mind was so steady, so locked in that people didn't mess with you, not because you said anything, but because they could feel your presence? That kind of mindset isn't gifted. It's built daily. This video is not hype. It's not motivation for 5 minutes. It's a full breakdown of how to build the kind of mind that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, and doesn't break. If you're serious about becoming someone who leads themselves without apology, who others silently respect, who's mentally sharp no matter the chaos, watch this till the end. This is where your shift begins. Chapter 1. Build a mind people cannot break. Build a mind people cannot break begins with understanding one simple truth about life and about yourself. Life will apply pressure. Pressure shows up as missed chances, hard conversations, unfair treatment, slow progress, and moments when effort does not get rewarded right away. These moments do not ask for permission before arriving. They come whether you feel ready or not. A strong mind is not built by hoping pressure disappears. A strong mind is built by deciding in advance who you will be when pressure arrives. Most people want comfort before commitment. They want clarity before action. They want confidence before effort. But the human mind does not work that way. Confidence grows after action. Strength comes after resistance. Self-respect grows when behavior improves. A mind people cannot break is shaped by small choices made when no one is watching and when no applause is coming. Those moments matter more than the big wins because they form your inner standard. A fragile mind waits for conditions to improve. A strong mind improves its response to conditions. When you wake up tired and still choose to do what must be done, you send a message to your brain that it does not control you. When emotions rise and you slow your reaction, you prove that feelings do not run your life. When fear shows up and you move anyway, you build internal authority. Authority over your own actions is real power. Most people collapse mentally, not because life is impossible, but because they argue with reality. They complain about how things should be instead of dealing with how things are. A mind people cannot break accepts reality quickly and then focuses on action. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means clarity. Clarity removes wasted energy. Energy saved becomes strength. Every day offers chances to build or weaken your mind. Skipping the hard conversation weakens it. Lying to yourself weakens it. Avoiding responsibility weakens it. On the other hand, doing what you said you would do strengthens it. Owning mistakes strengthens it. Staying calm under pressure strengthens it. These are not dramatic moments. They are quiet decisions repeated daily. The human mind listens to evidence. Words matter, but behavior matters more. When you prove to yourself through action that you can handle discomfort, your mind stops panicking when things get hard, it learns trust. Self-trust is not built through positive thinking. It is built through kept promises. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, your mind becomes steadier. Each broken promise teaches it doubt. Many people live at the mercy of their reactions. Something happens and emotion takes control. Anger speaks before thinking. Fear decides before logic. A strong mind creates space between stimulus and response. That space is where power lives. Power to choose words, power to choose silence, power to choose patience, power to choose discipline. This space is trained through awareness and practice. Pausing before responding is not weakness. It is control. A breakable mind needs approval to feel stable. A strong mind does not need constant validation. It knows its direction. It knows its values. It knows what matters today. When you stop chasing approval, you stop giving others control over your emotional state. That alone scares people who rely on influence and pressure to get their way. Mental strength also comes from learning to sit with discomfort without escaping. Discomfort does not harm you. It teaches you. It sharpens attention. It exposes habits. When you stop running from it, you gain clarity. When you face it directly, you gain courage. Courage is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet consistency in uncomfortable moments. People often ask how to stay motivated. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is reliable. Discipline is a decision made once and honored daily. A strong mind does not ask how it feels before acting. It asks what needs to be done. This shift removes emotional negotiation from daily life. Less negotiation means less mental fatigue. Less fatigue means more strength. Your inner dialogue matters. The way you speak to yourself shapes your nervous system. Harsh lies weaken you. Excuses weaken you. Honest, firm self-talk strengthens you. Saying this is hard but manageable builds resilience. Saying this is unfair but still my responsibility builds maturity. Strong minds speak truth without drama. Another part of being unbreakable is learning how to fail correctly. Failure does not destroy you unless you attach your identity to it. Learn the lesson. Adjust behavior. Move forward. People with weak minds replay failure emotionally. People with strong minds review it logically. Logic restores balance. Balance restores confidence. Daily structure also plays a role. Chaos drains mental energy. Simple routines protect it. Waking up with intention, eating with awareness, moving your body regularly, and ending the day with reflection creates stability inside. Stability makes pressure easier to handle. You do not need extreme habits. You need consistent ones. A strong mind respects time. It understands that growth is gradual. Impatience creates frustration. Frustration leads to quitting. When you respect time, you stay steady. Steady effort compounds. Compounding is quiet but powerful. Over time, it separates those who last from those who fade. People feel intimidated not by loud strength but by calm certainty. When you no longer overexplain, when you no longer rush, when your reactions stay measured, others feel it. They sense self-control. Self-control unsettles those who depend on chaos and emotion. Building a mind people cannot break also means choosing responsibility even when it feels heavy. Responsibility gives life meaning. Meaning fuels endurance. When you know why you do what you do, you endure more. You tolerate discomfort better. You stay grounded when others panic. Mental strength is also built by protecting your attention. Attention shapes reality. What you focus on grows in importance. Constant distraction weakens thinking. Scattered thinking weakens decisions. Decide what deserves your attention and remove the rest. Silence is not empty. It is useful. You do not need to dominate others to be strong. You need to master yourself. Mastery begins with awareness, continues with discipline, and deepens with consistency. Over time, people notice. They feel your steadiness. They feel your boundaries. They feel your refusal to be pushed by emotion or circumstance. The goal is not to appear strong. The goal is to become stable. Stability lasts. Stability supports others. Stability earns respect without asking. This kind of mind does not need to scare people intentionally. It does so naturally by being unmovable in values and consistent in action. Every day you wake up with a choice. Drift or decide, react or respond, excuse or own. These choices shape the mind. Choose well often enough and the mind becomes solid. Solid minds do not shatter under pressure. They adapt, they learn, they continue. Mental strength is built privately but revealed publicly. When challenges arrive, your preparation speaks for you. No speech is needed, no explanations required, just behavior. Behavior rooted in self-respect, discipline, and calm awareness. That is how a mind becomes unbreakable. One honest decision at a time, one calm response at a time, one kept promise at a time. Over time, you do not just think stronger, you live stronger. Chapter 2. Train yourself to stay strong daily. Training yourself to stay strong daily is not about intensity. It is about intention. Strength is built in ordinary moments when nothing exciting is happening and no one is cheering. Most people wait for a crisis to discover who they are. Strong people prepare before the crisis arrives. Daily strength is a habit of thinking, acting and responding with purpose even when the day feels plain. Each morning you wake up with a choice. You can drift into the day or you can decide how you will show up. Drifting costs you more than effort ever will. When you drift, your mood decides your actions. When you decide your values, guide your behavior. Staying strong daily means deciding in advance how you handle pressure, distraction, and delay. The mind needs training just like the body. If you skip training, the mind becomes soft and reactive. Training does not mean pushing to exhaustion. It means showing up with consistency. A short daily practice done honestly beats occasional bursts of effort. Strength grows when effort becomes normal, not dramatic. One of the first daily practices is managing how you start the day. The first hour sets the tone. Rushing creates tension. Awareness creates control. Taking a few minutes to breathe, think, and plan gives you direction. Direction reduces stress. Stress drains strength. Simple structure protects mental energy. Staying strong also requires feeding the mind with better input. What you read, watch, and listen to shapes your internal state. Constant noise weakens focus. Choose fewer sources and better ones. Quiet thinking builds clarity. Clarity builds confidence. Confidence reduces emotional swings. Another daily discipline is finishing small tasks completely. Incomplete tasks linger in the mind and drain energy. Completion brings relief and momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief keeps you steady when results are slow. Strength is often the result of finishing what others abandon. Emotional strength grows when you stop arguing with your feelings and start guiding them. Feelings come and go. You do not need to obey them. You can acknowledge them without surrendering control. Saying, "I feel tired, but I will still act," builds inner authority. Authority calms the mind. Daily strength also comes from learning how to handle stress properly. Stress is information. It signals that something needs attention. Ignoring it leads to breakdown. Obsessing over it leads to burnout. Addressing it calmly leads to growth. Ask what is within your control today and act there. The strongest people are not the busiest. They are the most deliberate. They protect time for rest, reflection, and recovery. Rest is not quitting. Rest is preparation. Without rest, strength fades. With proper recovery, effort becomes sustainable. Sustainability matters more than speed. Another part of daily strength is learning to stand by your decisions. Doubt wastes energy. Once you choose a direction, give it time. Adjust when needed, but do not panic. Panic comes from impatience. Patience keeps the mind stable. Stability is strength. Daily strength also means practicing honesty with yourself. Self-honesty prevents self-sabotage. When you name weaknesses, you gain power over them. When you hide them, they control you. Awareness is not self-criticism. It is self-leadership. You also train strength by choosing your response to people. Not every comment deserves your reaction. Not every challenge needs your explanation. Silence can be a strong response. Calm words carry more weight than emotional ones. Choose responses that protect your peace. Physical movement plays a role as well. The body and mind are connected. Regular movement improves mood, focus, and resilience. You do not need extreme routines. You need regular ones. Movement clears mental fog. A clear mind handles pressure better. Daily strength requires learning how to sit with boredom. Boredom often pushes people toward distraction and poor habits. If you can stay present without constant stimulation, you build patience. Patience strengthens attention. Attention strengthens thinking. Another important practice is ending the day with reflection. Reflection turns experience into learning. Ask what went well and what needs improvement. No judgment, just clarity. Clarity prepares you for tomorrow. Each day becomes a lesson, not a burden. Strong people do not wait for motivation to return. They act while motivation is absent. Acting first often brings motivation later. Waiting keeps you stuck. Movement creates energy. Energy fuels discipline. Daily strength is also built through boundaries. Saying no protects energy. Overcommitment leads to resentment. Resentment weakens the mind. Clear boundaries create respect. Respect from others begins with respect for yourself. You also stay strong by accepting that progress is uneven. Some days feel powerful, others feel heavy. Both are part of growth. Do not label hard days as failure. They are training days. Endurance grows when you keep going through them. Mental strength grows when you stop comparing your pace to others. Comparison distorts reality. Focus on your own improvement. Improvement creates pride. Pride builds confidence. Confidence steadies the mind. Another daily habit is choosing responsibility over blame. Blame gives short relief but long weakness. Responsibility gives short discomfort but long strength. Taking ownership sharpens thinking. Sharp thinking improves decisions. You also train strength by simplifying life. Too many goals create confusion. Confusion weakens action. Choose fewer priorities and commit deeply. Depth builds mastery. Mastery builds confidence. Strong minds respect consistency more than intensity. They value showing up more than showing off. Quiet progress lasts longer. Lasting strength does not need attention. It needs discipline. Every day you practice something. You practice excuses or effort. You practice patience or frustration. You practice awareness or distraction. What you practice becomes familiar. Familiar behavior becomes identity. Identity shapes destiny. Staying strong daily is not about being perfect. It is about being reliable. Reliable to yourself. Reliable to your values. Reliable in effort. Reliability builds trust within. Trust within creates calm. Calm is not weakness. Calm is readiness. When the mind is calm, it can respond clearly. Clear responses protect relationships and results. Strong people bring calm into tense spaces. Training yourself daily means accepting that growth takes time and pressure. You cannot rush maturity. You earn it through repetition. Repetition builds habits. Habits build character. When you commit to daily strength, you stop fearing setbacks. Setbacks become part of the process. You learn, adjust, and continue. Continuation is power. Over time, people notice your steadiness. They notice your consistency. They notice your refusal to be shaken by small things. This is not performance. This is preparation. Daily strength is built when you show up again and again with intention, clarity and discipline. No drama needed. No shortcuts taken. Just steady effort applied over time. That is how strength becomes part of who you are. Not something you try to access only when things go wrong. Chapter 3. Act calm when pressure tries controlling you. Pressure is one of the most powerful forces you will ever face. It doesn't knock politely. It shows up uninvited, often at the worst possible time. It can come from deadlines, conflict, failure, expectations, or even your own self-judgment. But pressure by itself isn't the problem. The real test is how you respond when pressure starts trying to take control of your mind. And the strongest response you can give it is calm. Staying calm doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you feel everything, but you don't let it change your behavior. You don't let it hijack your words, your actions, or your mindset. That's what separates people who fold from people who rise. That's what makes someone dependable, respected, and strong. Most people have been trained to react instantly. Something goes wrong and their heart rate rises. Their voice gets sharp. Their mind starts running wild with worst-case scenarios. They try to control things they can't. And in the process, they lose control of themselves. But here's what very few people understand. Your first reaction is not always your best one. Learning to pause, breathe, and think clearly gives you power most people never access. Pressure often tries to trick you. It tells you everything is urgent, that you have to fix it right now, that if you don't react fast, something terrible will happen, but that urgency is rarely real. In fact, most decisions made in panic are the wrong ones. Calm gives you time to separate what's real from what's just noise. Acting calm doesn't mean you're ignoring reality. It means you're choosing not to make it worse. When you speak from fear, you spread fear. When you act from anger, you cause damage. But when you stay grounded, when you stay steady, even when everything around you is shaking, you give others something to lean on. People can feel that, and it earns a deep kind of respect, not just from others but from yourself. So how do you train this kind of calm in a world that constantly pushes for urgency and reaction? You start by building awareness. Notice how your body feels under pressure. Notice the signs: tight chest, fast breath, racing thoughts. These are not problems. They are signals, and when you start recognizing them early, you can interrupt the automatic response. That interruption is powerful. It creates space. In that space, you take control. You ask yourself simple grounding questions. What is really happening right now? What's the next small step I can take? What do I actually have control over? These questions pull you out of chaos and back into clarity. This doesn't mean you always feel good. There will be days when you're overwhelmed, frustrated, or disappointed. But calm is not about removing emotion. It's about guiding it. You can feel angry and still act wisely. You can feel fear and still make clear decisions. That's emotional strength. And it starts with daily practice. Daily practice means putting yourself in situations where you can build pressure resistance. It means doing things that challenge you mentally. It means staying present when you want to escape. It means finishing tasks you don't feel like doing and responding with patience when you'd rather lash out. Every time you do that, your mind becomes stronger. It also means managing what you consume. If your mind is constantly filled with negativity, drama, and urgency, calm will feel foreign. Start removing things that pull you into stress. Spend more time with thoughts that bring clarity. Calm isn't something you find by accident. It's something you create through what you focus on. You also need to stop relying on motivation. Motivation is loud when life is easy, but it disappears the second things get hard. Discipline is different. Discipline is quiet, steady, and strong. And discipline allows you to act calm even when every part of you feels the pressure building. Your environment plays a role, too. Who you spend time with affects how you handle pressure. If you're surrounded by people who panic, overreact, and complain, you'll start to do the same. But when you're around people who are calm, focused, and in control, you rise to meet that energy. Be mindful of what you allow into your space. Acting calm also means learning how to say less. Not everything needs a response. Not every comment deserves your attention. Silence isn't weakness. It's a powerful choice. It shows maturity. It gives space for smarter decisions, and often it earns more respect than any loud reaction ever could. Another key to staying calm is understanding that you don't need to solve everything right away. Most of the time, pressure feels heavier than it actually is because we try to control things outside our reach. Learn to focus only on what's yours to manage. Let go of what is. That mental separation is what keeps people strong under stress. Calm also requires sleep, rest, and real recovery. A tired mind is more reactive. It sees problems as threats. It jumps to conclusions. But a rested mind can handle discomfort without panicking. If you want to be calm, you need to protect your energy the same way you protect your time. You'll also need to understand that other people will test your calm. Some will challenge you on purpose. Some will try to get a reaction from you. Some will project their stress onto you. That's why your calm has to be based on inner stability, not on whether people around you behave. When your peace depends on others, it's not real peace. But when you build it from self-control, it becomes unshakable. There will be moments in life where everything feels like it's falling apart. A conversation goes wrong. A goal slips out of reach. A plan doesn't work. In those moments, pressure will whisper lies to you. It'll say you're not enough. That you're failing. That it's too late. But your job in that moment is not to believe the noise. Your job is to breathe, slow down, and return to what you know. Return to your values. Return to your process. Return to the basics. Because calm is not about controlling every outcome. It's about staying steady through every outcome. The outcome can change. Your behavior doesn't have to. People who can act calm under pressure become the ones others rely on. Not because they're perfect, but because they're solid. They don't break when plans break. They don't run when things get hard, and they don't need to be the loudest to be the strongest. This kind of calm doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. It comes from knowing that you've trained for this, that you've handled hard things before, that you're capable even when things are messy. Calm is not a mask, it's a skill, and it gets sharper every time you use it. So don't wait for life to be easy to start practicing calm. Do it now in the small situations. When someone cuts you off, when a message frustrates you, when a task feels too long. These are not minor moments, they are reps. Every representative builds strength, and strength brings peace. When you act calm in the face of pressure, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see yourself. You earn your own trust. You create proof that you're stronger than the moment. That you are not controlled by your emotions, that you lead your life. Your emotions don't. And over time, that calm becomes who you are. Not just something you do, not just something you try, but a part of you. A calm mind in a noisy world. A steady voice in an anxious room. A grounded person in a chaotic time. That's not just powerful, that's rare. And that's who you're becoming. Chapter 4. Choose strength over comfort every single day. Choosing strength over comfort every single day is not just a motivational idea. It's a way of living that rewires how you see your time, your choices, and your identity. Most people don't fail because of lack of ability. They fail because they pick easy over necessary, temporary relief over long-term power. The truth is, comfort is always available, but so is strength. And the path you choose each day defines who you become in the months and years ahead. Comfort whispers to you from the moment you wake up. Stay in bed a little longer. Skip the workout. Avoid that hard task. Postpone the honest conversation. Let someone else take the lead. It's always offering you the easy way out. It never yells. It just quietly convinces. It promises rest, peace, and safety. But it never delivers anything lasting. And every time you choose it, your confidence shrinks a little more. Your standards drop without you noticing. Strength is harder. It's choosing to do what's right instead of what's easy, especially when no one is watching. It's holding yourself to a higher standard, even when you could get away with less. It's getting uncomfortable on purpose because you know that the only way to grow is to stretch. You don't have to be extreme, but you do have to be consistent, and you have to be real with yourself. Choosing strength means doing the thing you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. Feelings are unpredictable. They change with sleep, with stress, with small events. You can't let those feelings run your life. You have to act based on the person you want to become, not based on how easy today feels. This takes honesty. Most people don't like admitting when they're slipping. But if you can look at yourself clearly and still choose strength, you separate yourself from the crowd. Comfort has a cost. You may not see it right away, but it builds over. Days of procrastination turn into months of frustration. Excuses become habit. Opportunities disappear because you weren't ready. And suddenly you're not where you hoped to be. Not because life blocked you, but because comfort became your default. Strength has a cost too, but it pays you back. It costs effort, discipline, and short-term discomfort, but it gives you pride, energy, and momentum. It builds trust within yourself. And nothing creates confidence like knowing you can count on your own behavior. That kind of self-trust is what allows you to move through life with stability even when things get messy around you. You don't need to chase pain or make every day a struggle. This isn't about suffering. It's about choosing the path that stretches you instead of shrinking you. The path that makes you think deeper, move sharper, and live with more awareness. Sometimes that means saying no when it's awkward. Sometimes it means working through boredom instead of checking out. Sometimes it means standing alone instead of following the crowd. You get stronger each time you pick growth over ease. You grow every time you resist the temptation to cut corners. Even something small like getting up on your first alarm or sticking to your plan when no one else is involved. These are moments that either build your strength or chip away at it. And strength is not a moment. It's built in repetition. Start noticing the small ways you avoid difficulty. Notice how often you let yourself slide because it's convenient. You're not weak, you're just untrained. Everyone starts somewhere, but once you become aware of how comfort controls you, you can start changing it. Replace excuses with action. Replace distractions with focus. Replace fear with responsibility. That's how it begins. You're going to have days when strength feels impossible. Days when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. On those days, your habits save you. If you've trained yourself to act with discipline, you don't need motivation. You simply follow through. That's why the small decisions matter. They add up. They become automatic. And when things get hard, you don't fall apart. You hold steady. Choosing strength also means facing what you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a hard truth about your habits, your relationships, or your mindset. It's easy to stay distracted, but clarity comes when you stop running. Sit with your reality. Ask yourself what needs to change. Don't rush to fix everything at once. Pick one area. Improve it daily. That's how real transformation works. The world will not always reward you for choosing strength. In fact, sometimes people will question you. Why are you working so hard? Why are you so strict with your time? Why don't you just relax? That's because most people settle. And when you stop settling, you challenge their comfort. Don't let that stop you. You're not doing this for approval. You're doing this because you're building a life you can be proud of. The beauty of strength is that it leaks into every area of life. When you learn to stay disciplined with your body, your thoughts sharpen. When you take ownership at work, your relationship improves. When you speak with honesty, your self-respect grows. You become someone others can trust. But more importantly, someone you can trust. Every morning, you're given the same opportunity. Stay where you are or get stronger. This is not about chasing perfection. It's about progress. And progress does not happen in comfort. It happens in challenge. It happens when you say, "This is hard, but I'm going to do it anyway." It happens when you stop negotiating with laziness. You won't always see the rewards right away. Sometimes you'll work hard and feel like nothing changed, but underneath something is changing. You're becoming sharper, more focused, less shaken by setbacks. That invisible growth shows up later in how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure, and how you recover from failure. Choosing strength daily also means forgiving yourself when you slip, but not excusing it. Don't use mistakes as a reason to give up. Use them as proof that you're learning. What matters most is what you do next. Do you return to discipline or stay in the loop of comfort? Strength is built in how you bounce back, not just in how you perform. This path is not for everyone. Most people want results without the effort, but the effort is what makes the result meaningful. You're not just building skills or habits. You're building character. Character that can't be faked. Character that shows up under pressure. Character that leads and lifts others. That's what strength gives you. And here's the truth. Choosing strength daily isn't just about you. The people around you feel it. When you lead yourself well, you set a higher standard for those you love. You become the calm in the storm. The one who doesn't crack under tension. The one others look to. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real, responsible, and steady. There's no finish line for this. You don't one day arrive and say, "I'm done." Strength is a lifestyle. It's a daily decision. It's waking up and asking yourself, what would the best version of me do today? And then doing it even when it's not easy. This is your edge. This is how you set yourself apart. Not by luck, talent, or shortcuts, but by choosing the stronger option when it's easier. Not one decision at a time, one action at a time, one day at a time. That's how you build a mind and a life no one can weaken. And the longer you stay on this path, the clearer it becomes. You are never missing strength. You are just choosing comfort. Now that you know the difference, choose the one that builds you every single day. Chapter 5. Hold discipline when excuses sound convincing. Excuses are quiet and convincing. They speak in your voice and sound like truth. They appear when things get uncomfortable, when effort feels heavy, when motivation runs low. They don't shout. They whisper. They tell you it's okay to skip the work today. They tell you you've done enough. They tell you no one will notice if you pull back a little. And that's where the danger begins. Not in the loud failures, but in the quiet justifications. Discipline doesn't break in big dramatic moments. It breaks in the small ones. The mornings you hit snooze, the tasks you avoid, the promises you postpone. Each time you give in even a little, you teach your mind that comfort is more important than growth. And when that pattern repeats, you stop leading yourself. You follow your feelings instead. Holding discipline is not about being cold or robotic. It's about deciding who you want to be and making choices that line up with that decision even when they don't feel good in the moment. It's hard. It takes effort. But what's harder is living with the regret of knowing you let excuses run your life. You can't build anything solid on a foundation of inconsistency. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you make tomorrow heavier. You stack guilt and delay on top of what could have been progress. The mind remembers that, and over time, you start trusting yourself less. That's what excuses do. They don't just slow you down. They make you doubt your own word. Discipline repairs that. Every time you show up when it's inconvenient, you rebuild trust in yourself. That trust is what gives you quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to be loud or perform for others. The most convincing excuses are the ones that sound responsible. I've been busy. I need rest. This probably isn't the right time. Those sound reasonable, but they're often masks for resistance. Real rest is planned, not impulsive. Real responsibility includes doing hard things even when it's inconvenient, and the right time almost never shows up on its own. You create it by doing the work anyway. Discipline means doing what you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has disappeared. Motivation fades. Energy fluctuates. But the decision to stay consistent, that's what carries you. That's what builds momentum. And momentum creates clarity. The more you act, the less room there is for doubt. When you hold discipline, you stop asking how you feel and start asking what matters. You stop needing the perfect environment and start doing the best with what you have. You stop looking for reasons to delay and start collecting reasons to continue. This shift in mindset doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you stop giving excuses your full attention. Most people wait to feel ready before they move. But readiness is not a feeling. It's a result. It comes after you've taken action. Excuses tell you to wait until you feel ready. Discipline tells you to start even if you don't. And once you start, resistance fades. The mind calms, the body engages, progress begins. There will always be something more comfortable than doing what's necessary. There will always be an easier option. That's why holding discipline is rare. It separates those who say they want change from those who are willing to earn it. Saying you want results is not the same as doing the work for them. Wanting is cheap. Doing is expensive. That the reward is real. Discipline is a daily decision, not a dramatic one, not a once-a-year promise, but a choice you make in the ordinary moments. The ones that don't feel like they matter. They do. They matter more than you think. Because those small choices build your identity. They either reinforce excuses or reinforced strength. Holding discipline also means noticing your patterns. When do excuses show up most? What thoughts trigger them? What stories do you repeat to justify them? The more aware you become, the harder it is for those stories to run your behavior. You don't need to fight every excuse. You just need to recognize them and return to your plan. Structure helps. Simple routines remove the need to make constant decisions. When something becomes part of your day, you stop negotiating with it. Discipline becomes automatic, not forced. You don't ask, "Should I do this?" You already know the answer. And when the mind tries to offer a shortcut, you ignore it, not because you don't hear it, but because you've outgrown it. Discipline is not about being perfect. You'll make mistakes. You'll have off days. But one bad moment doesn't need to become a bad day. One bad day doesn't need to become a bad week. Get back to your structure. Remind yourself who you're trying to become. And take the next step, even if it's small. Progress doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Excuses slow persistence down. But every time you catch one and act anyway, you build a stronger mental framework. One that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. One that holds under pressure. One that leads you even when motivation disappears. Holding discipline also means being honest about your priorities. If you say something matters but never make time for it, it doesn't really matter. Actions reveal the truth. If growth is a priority, it will show up in your calendar, your habits, your language. If excuses are in control, that will show too. You can't fake discipline. You either show up or you don't. And that's why it's powerful, because when you earn it, no one can take it from you. You don't need to announce it. It becomes obvious. People see it in how you move, how you think, how you respond to setbacks. There's a different level of presence in someone who's trained themselves to act beyond feelings. The more you practice discipline, the less you rely on emotion to carry you. That's freedom. You're no longer stuck in the cycle of "I don't feel like it." You rise above it. You become someone who does what's necessary, not just what's easy. That version of you already exists. You just have to choose it again and again and again. That choice will not always be exciting. It won't always feel good, but it will always move you forward. Excuses promise relief. Discipline delivers progress. You decide which one you want more. When the voice in your head starts telling you to skip, delay, or avoid, pause. Don't fight it. Don't argue. Just act. Even a small action breaks its grip. Get out of the chair. Start the task. Say the truth. Follow through. That's how you stay in control. And every time you do, you prove something important. You prove that you don't need to believe everything your mind tells you. You prove that your word matters. You prove that excuses don't have to run your life in the long run. Discipline becomes lighter, not because the work is easier, but because you're stronger. You don't have to push as hard to start. You don't get pulled off course so easily. You stop wasting time debating whether or not to do the work. You just do it, and in that simplicity, you find real strength. Holding discipline when excuses sound convincing is one of the most important skills you will ever build. It shapes your mindset, your habits, and your future. It takes practice. It takes patience. But it's worth it, because the more you hold discipline, the more you become someone even your excuses can't argue with. Chapter 6. Face fear directly instead of backing down. Fear doesn't always show up as panic or shaking hands. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it hides behind excuses, overthinking, perfectionism, or delay. It shows up when you're about to speak up, take a risk, or do something new that feels uncertain. The moment you try to move forward, fear shows up and tells you to stop. That's its job. Fear is not the enemy. It's just a signal. It tells you that you're about to step into something unfamiliar. And it's your job to decide what to do with that signal. Most people back down, not because they're weak, but because they've been trained to avoid discomfort. Fear feels uncomfortable, so they pull back. They tell themselves they'll try later. They distract themselves. They convince themselves that it wasn't the right time. They don't even realize they're building the habit of retreat, and retreat becomes their default response. But here's the truth. Every time you back down from fear, it grows. Every time you avoid it, it learns that it can control you. Facing fear directly doesn't mean you won't feel it. It means you stop letting it decide for you. The goal isn't to erase fear. The goal is to take action while it's present. Because fear loses power the moment you walk toward it instead of away from it. The longer you wait, the stronger it seems. But the faster you face it, the smaller it gets. Most of the things you fear won't destroy you. They'll develop you. When fear shows up, your body responds. Your heart beats faster. Your breath gets shallow. Your thinking narrows. These are natural responses. They don't mean something is wrong. They mean something matters. Fear only attaches itself to things that are meaningful. That's why the moments that scare you are often the ones that can change your life. If you want to grow, you have to stop negotiating with fear. You have to stop asking if you feel ready. Readiness comes through exposure. You face it once, then again and again. And each time your nervous system learns something new. I can handle this. You don't become fearless. You become familiar with fear. And when something becomes familiar, it loses its grip. Courage is not something you're born with. It's something you earn by doing hard things repeatedly. Small acts of bravery add up. Telling the truth when it's uncomfortable. Asking the question that might get rejected. Saying yes to the opportunity you feel unqualified for. These are real moments of growth, and they aren't just about achievement. They're about who you're becoming. You build mental strength every time you look fear in the eye and move anyway. It doesn't need to be dramatic. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to fight it. You just need to stay still, breathe, and take one step forward. The more often you do that, the more you'll realize that fear is not as solid as it feels. It's more like a wall of smoke. It looks strong, but you can walk through it if you stop running from it. You also need to separate real danger from imagined fear. Not everything that scares you is a threat. Many things just feel risky because they're unfamiliar. Public speaking, starting a project, asking for feedback. These aren't life-threatening, but your brain treats them like they are. You have to be the one to reset that alarm. And the only way to reset it is to face it again and again until your system learns it's safe. Don't wait for fear to go away before you act. You'll be waiting forever. Fear fades through action. Action builds confidence. Confidence doesn't mean you know how everything will turn out. It means you trust yourself to handle whatever happens. And that trust is earned through repetition, not talking. Fear is also a great teacher if you listen to it. It shows you where you care. It shows you what you're avoiding. It shows you where you need to grow. When fear shows up, pause and ask, what am I protecting? What am I afraid of losing? What belief am I holding on to right now? This kind of reflection helps you face the root of the fear, not just the feeling. There's no shortcut here. You can read all the advice. You can talk about courage. But the only way to become brave is to do the thing that scares you over and over again. That's how you train it. And the good news is you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin. Take one uncomfortable step forward today. That's how progress begins. You also have to understand that fear is part of anything meaningful. Growth comes with risk, but so does staying stuck. When you avoid what scares you, you also avoid your own potential. That's the hidden cost of comfort. It looks safe on the outside, but it slowly steals your belief in yourself. Facing fear keeps that belief alive. It reminds you that you're capable. There will be moments when the fear feels louder than your courage. That's okay. Feel it fully. Acknowledge it. Then return to your plan. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. You just need to take the next step. One action at a time. One hard conversation at a time. One deep breath before showing up. That's how you build a life where fear doesn't lead. You'll also find that the more you face fear, the more space you create in your mind. Space to think, space to respond, space to make better decisions. Fear clouds judgment when you run from it. But when you stand still and face it, the fog starts to clear. And in that clarity, you find your strength. It's not about removing fear forever. It's about becoming someone who's no longer controlled by it. Someone who can feel it without losing direction. Someone who can be scared and still act with integrity. That's real confidence. It's not loud. It's steady. And the truth is, other people are watching. Not in a judgmental way, but in a human way. When you face fear, you give others permission to do the same. You become a quiet example. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real, and real strength is contagious. Don't wait for a crisis to test your courage. Practice now in small moments. Say what needs to be said. Try what feels uncomfortable. Admit when you don't know. Ask the question. Start the thing. Face it now and watch how much lighter fear becomes when you meet it directly. In the end, you don't want a life shaped by fear. You want a life shaped by values, by vision, by courage. That life is only possible when you face the thing you've been avoiding. Not once, but every day, until fear becomes just another feeling and not the one making your decisions. You don't need to feel brave to live boldly. You just need to decide that fear is no longer the one in charge. And from that decision, everything begins to change. One step forward, one breath at a time. Face it, walk through it, and keep going. That's how you become someone fear can't control. Chapter 7. Think clearly while emotions push hard. Emotions can be powerful. They can rise fast and feel overwhelming. When they hit, it's easy to lose control of your thinking. You say things you didn't mean. You make decisions you regret. You shut down or blow up. That's what emotions do when they're in charge. They push hard, and if you're not prepared, they'll steer you away from the person you're trying to become. But thinking clearly while emotions push hard is not impossible. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. The first step is accepting that emotions are part of life. You're not weak because you feel deeply. You're not broken because you get angry or anxious or frustrated. Every strong mind has strong emotions. The goal is not to eliminate them. The goal is to manage your response when they arrive. Most people confuse reacting with responding. Reacting is automatic. It's fast. It's emotional. Responding is chosen. It's slower. It's controlled. Clear thinking only happens when you respond, not when you react. You can't control when emotions show up, but you can control what you do next. And the moment you notice that emotion is pulling at you, that moment matters. That's your chance. That's where growth begins. Because if you can pause even for a few seconds, you create space. And in that space, you make a decision. Not a perfect one, but a better one. One that reflects who you want to be. Not just how you feel in the moment. When you're emotionally charged, everything can feel urgent, but most things aren't. Take a step back. Ask yourself, what needs to happen right now? What can wait? What am I feeling? And what might that feeling be trying to tell me? This isn't about overanalyzing. It's about grounding yourself in the present. When your thoughts start spinning, slow them down with questions that bring you back to clarity. Breathing helps. Not in some dramatic way, just intentional calm breathing. A few slow breaths tell your nervous system that you're safe. And when the body feels safe, the mind starts thinking again. It doesn't mean the emotion disappears. It means you've interrupted the storm long enough to find direction. You can't think clearly when you're overloaded. That's why it's so important to train for clarity during normal moments. Clarity doesn't show up by accident. It's built through habits, journaling, reflecting, planning, setting your priorities before the chaos begins. If you know what matters to you, it's easier to stay grounded when emotions try to pull you in every direction. People often say they're bad at managing emotions, but what they really mean is they've never practiced it. And practice doesn't mean waiting for a crisis to get better. Practice means catching yourself during the small irritations. It means noticing when you're starting to spiral. It means stepping back during a heated conversation instead of jumping in. These small wins add up. Over time, your mind learns how to think even when emotions are loud. Clear thinking doesn't mean you suppress emotion. Suppression just builds pressure. It's not healthy. What's healthy is recognizing emotion without becoming it. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are the one observing those emotions. And the more often you remind yourself of that, the less power those feelings have over your actions. Sometimes emotions lie. They tell you that you're failing, that people are against you, that you're not good enough. If you accept every thought that shows up during an emotional wave, you'll start to live by false beliefs. That's why it's critical to question emotional thoughts. Ask yourself, is this actually true, or is it just what I'm feeling right now? That simple question can pull you out of emotional blindness. You can also train your environment to help you think better. Clear space leads to a clearer mind. A messy environment adds stress. Surrounding yourself with calm people helps too. People who don't fuel the fire when you're upset. People who stay grounded and remind you of your values. You become like the people you're around, especially in emotional moments. Clarity is also about keeping perspective. Emotional thinking is narrow. It sees the moment, the feeling, the discomfort. Clear thinking steps back and sees the bigger picture. What does this mean in a week, in a year? Will I care about this later? Sometimes all it takes is one higher level thought to calm the mind and reset your direction. You don't need to rush when you're emotion. Most of the pressure to act fast is internal. Give yourself permission to slow down. Say, I don't have to solve this right now. That one sentence can save you from decisions that cause long-term regret. Time often brings better answers than adrenaline. A big part of thinking clearly is emotional honesty. Admit when you're overwhelmed. Say what you're really feeling, not just what's easy to say. Naming emotions gives them less power. When you say, I'm feeling hurt, instead of lashing out, you protect your relationship. When you say, I'm scared this won't work, you open the door to logic instead of panic. This kind of honesty takes courage, but it brings peace. You also have to know your patterns. What situations trigger your strongest emotions? What thoughts tend to follow those emotions? When you study yourself, you stop being surprised by your reactions. You start preparing for them. And when you're prepared, you stay in control. Clear thinking doesn't always mean calm feelings. You can be emotionally stirred and still choose your behavior. That's strength. That's maturity. It's easy to act right when everything's calm. It means more when you act right when everything inside you is tense. That's where real power is built. You also need to stop expecting perfection from yourself. There will be moments when emotions win. You'll say the wrong thing. You'll act too fast. You'll lose your cool. That's part of learning. What matters is how fast you come back. How honest you are with yourself. How willing you are to do better next time. Clear thinking is not about never making mistakes. It's about correcting quickly and growing consistently. You can't think clearly if you're always busy, overstimulated, or tired. Rest matters. Stillness matters. When your mind is always full, emotions take the lead. Make space for quiet thinking, for simple reflection. You don't need more information. You need time to hear your own thought. The more you train this skill, the more you become the kind of person others trust. Not because you have all the answers, but because you don't panic under pressure. You don't get pulled into every emotional wave. You stay grounded. You make decisions that last. That kind of clarity stands out. It brings peace to tense situations. It brings leadership to chaos. Thinking clearly while emotions push hard is a high-level skill. It's not easy, but it's worth every ounce of effort because when you learn to lead yourself in emotional moments, you unlock a version of you that's steady, focused, and powerful. You stop being a passenger in your own mind, and you become the driver, and that changes everything. Chapter 8. Build respect by standing firm daily. Respect is not something you ask for. It's something you earn. one action at a time. And the foundation of that respect is consistency. The world is full of people who talk a good game. They say the right things, post the right messages, and make the right promises. But when it's time to follow through, they disappear. They bend. They backtrack. They change who they are depending on who they're around. And people notice. They might not say it out loud, but they see us. And slowly trust fades. Respect weakens. Influence disappears. Building respect by standing firm daily is about becoming someone others can count on. But more than that, it's about becoming someone you can count on. That means holding your line not once, not occasionally, but over and over, especially when it's difficult, when it's inconvenient, when it costs you something, because that's when your character is being shaped. Standing firm doesn't mean being rigid or aggressive. It means staying true to your values even when pressure rises. It means knowing what you believe, what you expect from yourself, and how you want to live, and then acting in alignment with that. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. People respect those who don't shift with the wind, who show up the same, whether someone's watching or not, who do the right thing, even when it gets them nothing. Every day gives you moments to prove who you are. When you're tired and still choose to keep your word, you're building respect. When you're frustrated, but respond with self-control, you're earning it. When you say no to what doesn't align with your standards, even if it costs popularity or comfort, you're reinforcing who you are. These moments aren't always dramatic. Most of them are quiet, but people feel them. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is to say one thing and do another. You can't fake consistency. People might forget what you say, but they'll always remember how you make them feel. And nothing builds stronger feelings of trust than knowing someone means what they say. If your words carry no weight, neither will your presence. You don't have to impress people to earn respect. You just have to be solid. Be steady. Do what you said you would do. Show up when it's your turn. Take responsibility when it's your fault. And don't look for praise every time you act with discipline. Quiet consistency builds more influence than loud intentions ever will. Standing firm also means not abandoning your standards just because someone else lowers theirs. You don't need to join in gossip to be accepted. You don't need to break your habits because someone else lacks them. You don't need to laugh at what you don't find funny or agree with what you don't believe. Every time you do, you chip away at your self-respect. And that's the beginning of losing others' respect, too. You can be kind and still be clear. You can be humble and still be firm. You can be understanding and still say no. Standing firm isn't about being cold. It's about being committed to your mission, your vision, and your discipline. When people see that kind of self-respect, they take you seriously because they know you won't sell yourself out for short-term approval. If you want to build respect in your relationships, start by being dependable. Keep your appointments. Be on time. Mean what you say. Apologize when you're wrong. Follow through without needing reminders. Small things done consistently create the reputation of someone who can be trusted. And trust is the core of respect. This applies to how you treat yourself too. If you constantly break promises to yourself, your confidence will shrink. You'll start doubting your ability to lead yourself. But when you start showing up for your own standards, eating what fuels you, training your body, managing your time, speaking your truth, you earn internal respect. That's what builds quiet strength. That's what keeps you steady under pressure. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be committed. Committed to your values. Committed to your habits. Committed to growing even when growth is uncomfortable. When people see you hold steady over time, even through struggles, they gain respect for you. Not because you never fail, but because you never fold. Some people won't like your firmness. They'll prefer the version of you who's easier to sway. But standing firm daily is not about being liked by everyone. It's about being respected by the right ones, the ones who value truth, the ones who recognize strength, the ones who want to grow too. Those are the people worth keeping around. Standards protect you from regret. When you have standards for how you think, speak, and act, you don't wake up wondering who you became yesterday. You already know you were you. You didn't sell out your principle. You didn't follow the crowd just to fit in. You stood firm, and that gives you peace. Real peace doesn't come from approval. It comes from knowing you stayed aligned with what matters most. Respect is built over time. It's built when people see how you handle setbacks, how you deal with pressure, how you respond to discomfort. Anyone can perform well when things are easy, but when challenges hit, who do you become? That answer shapes your influence. It shapes how you're remembered. Being respected isn't about status or power. It's about being solid when it counts. About staying real when others go fake. About doing the right thing without needing recognition. Respect comes from alignment. When your actions match your beliefs, and the more you live in alignment, the more you become someone others look up to. You'll have days when you want to back down. When compromise feels easier. When silence feels safer. When quitting seems reasonable. But in those moments, remember this. You're not building your life for comfort. You're building it for meaning. And nothing meaningful comes without moments of resistance. When you stand firm through those moments, you earn the kind of respect that can't be bought, borrowed, or forced. You don't need to prove yourself constantly. You just need to live in a way that speaks for itself. Let your habits talk. Let your choices speak. Let your standards show who you are. Over time, people will see the difference between those who show up and those who just talk. You want to be someone they remember for being dependable, focused, and grounded. This isn't about being better than others. It's about being better than who you used to. Every day is a test of who you're becoming. You either build yourself up or wear yourself down. You either stand firm or slide back. The direction is yours to choose. The process is daily. The reward is long-term. Respect yourself by living like someone who deserves it. Stand by your values when no one claps. Honor your word even when no one checks. Stay committed when quitting would be easier. These are the moments that define you, not just to others but to yourself. And when you start to live this way, something shifts. You stop seeking validation. You stop chasing attention. You start walking in strength, building respect. By standing firm daily is not a one-time decision. It's who you become over time, through pressure, through conflict, through temptation, through boredom, through distraction. You stay centered, you stay focused, you stay grounded in who you said you'd be. And in that quiet consistency, you become the kind of person the world doesn't forget. Not because you were loud, but because you were real. Not because you had all the answers, but because you never stopped showing up with integrity. That's what earns lasting respect, and that's what makes you unshakable. Chapter 9. Control your reactions before they explode. Reactions are fast. They come without warning, often before you even know what you're doing. A tone in someone's voice triggers something in you. A delay in someone's response makes you feel ignored. A single comment takes you back to old pain. And just like that, you explode. It might be yelling, shutting down, snapping back, walking away, or sending a message you didn't think through. And the damage is done. What could have been solved calmly is now a mess. What could have ended with peace now carries regret. Learning to control your reactions before they explode is not about pretending you don't feel anything. It's about creating space between what happens and what you do. That space is your power. That space decides if your next moment will be something you're proud of or something you wish you could take back. Most people don't think they have that space. They assume emotion equals action. That if you feel something strong, you have no choice but to act on it. But that's not true. You always have a choice. The problem is most people haven't trained that choice. You can't wait until you're in a heated moment to learn control. It's too late by then. You train it before the storm comes. You train it in the small frustrations, traffic, delays, noise, disagreement. Every time something pokes at your peace, you have an opportunity. You can lose it and let your emotions take over, or you can pause and stay in charge. The more often you choose the second option, the more natural it becomes. Control becomes your default, not your struggle. Reactions are usually not about what's in front of you. They come from deeper places. Past hurt, fear, insecurity, exhaustion, pressure. That's why the same event can trigger one person and not another. It's not the event, it's what it touches in you. When you start to recognize your triggers, you start to gain control. You see patterns, you feel the signs, and you learn how to interrupt them before they explode. Explosions don't start loud. They start with small things you ignore. Tension in your shoulders, a shift in your breathing, that voice in your head that gets sharper. Those are signals. They're telling you to slow down, not speed up, to listen, not lash out. Most people miss those signs because they used to rush it. But if you want to stay in control, you have to slow your mind long enough to catch what's going on inside of you. When you feel emotion rising, don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I'm feeling triggered right now. That simple sentence pulls you out of autopilot. It puts your brain back in control. And when your brain is in control, your behavior follows. Awareness is the first step to mastery. You also have to stop believing that releasing your reaction will fix the problem. It won't. Blowing up might feel good for a moment, but what does it solve? What does it build? How often has it made your life better? Usually, it leaves you cleaning up the mess. And if you repeat it enough, people stop trusting you. They stop feeling safe around you. They avoid telling you the truth because they're not sure which version of you they'll get. Control doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean holding everything in until you explode later. It means choosing the best way to express your emotion. It means knowing when to speak. And it means waiting 5 minutes before you respond because you know those 5 minutes can change everything. A calm message in 5 minutes is always more powerful than a reactive one in 5 seconds. You also need to stop expecting people to behave in ways that make your emotions easier to manage. Life won't adjust for your triggers. It's your job to adjust your habits. You'll meet people who are careless with words. You'll face situations that feel unfair. You'll get feedback that sting. If you explode every time life is hard, you become a slave to your environment. But if you can stay steady when everything else is shaking, you become someone others look to, someone they trust. Control gives you presence. It gives you leadership. It gives you pay when you can stay calm under pressure. You can hear better, think better, solve better. You don't waste time fixing what your reaction broke. You keep momentum. You move forward. There will always be moments when emotion hits fast. When you don't have time to sit and reflect. That's why having a go-to grounding habit helps. Maybe it's stepping away for a minute. Maybe it's writing down what you want to say before saying it. Maybe it's taking a deep breath and repeating a phrase like I choose peace or respond. Don't react. These things sound simple, but they change everything when you do them consistently. You have to stop making emotional reactions your identity. Saying things like that's just how I am or I can't help it is giving up your power. You weren't born with those reactions. You learned them, which means you can unlearn. It's not about personality. It's about responsibility. Think about the people you admire most. The ones you respect. How often do they explode? Probably not often. Not because they don't feel emotion, but because they've trained discipline. They've chosen maturity over impulse. That's what makes them strong. Not the absence of feeling, but the ability to lead themselves through feeling. Self-control is freedom. It doesn't trap you. It protects you. It keeps you from ruining moments with people you care about. It keeps your goals on track. It allows you to handle conflict without destroying connection. It gives you the power to face challenges without adding chaos to them. This doesn't mean you'll always get it right. You'll still have moments where your reactions slip, where emotion takes the lead for a few seconds. That's okay. What matters is what you do next. Do you own it? Do you apologize? Do you reflect and learn? Growth doesn't mean perfection. It means being willing to do better than yesterday. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is realizing that you don't need to prove your emotions to be valid. You don't need to explode for people to understand how upset you are. You don't need to shut down for them to see you're hurt. You can speak with calm strength. You can explain with clarity. You can show how you feel without losing control. Over time, when you start living this way, you notice something. Fewer problems turn into drama. Fewer relationships end in conflict. Fewer days get wasted on regret. And more of your time is spent in peace, in focus, in forward motion. That's the power of controlling your reactions before they explode. You'll still feel everything. You'll still care deeply. You'll still get frustrated, but those emotions won't own you. They won't decide your words. They won't control your tone. They won't ruin your progress. You'll feel them and still lead yourself. That's what emotional maturity looks like. You don't build that overnight. You build it through effort, through awareness, through choosing control, one moment at a time. And the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, you're the person others come to. Not because you're emotionless, but because you're steady. And steady is powerful. Steady is rare. Steady changes everything. Chapter 10. Become mentally strong enough to intimidate. Becoming mentally strong enough to intimidate isn't about acting superior, being loud, or trying to control people. It's not about ego. It's not about showing off. True mental strength doesn't need to announce itself. It's the kind of presence that makes people sit up, pay attention, and think twice before challenging you. Not out of fear, but out of respect. It's the quiet, calm, unshakable energy that says, this person doesn't fold under pressure, doesn't seek approval, and doesn't compromise on what matters. Most people are easily moved by what's happening around them. A few harsh words, little resistance, one setback, and they lose direction. They shrink. They doubt themselves. But the people who stand out, the ones who truly intimidate with their strength, are the ones who don't break their own code no matter what. You can feel it in their posture, in their tone, in the way they carry themselves. They don't need to react to everything. They don't rush to prove themselves. They know who they are and they act like it. This kind of strength isn't built overnight. It takes years of choosing the hard path, of choosing self-control when it's easier to lash out, of staying focused when distractions tempt you daily, of walking alone rather than following the crowd just to fit in. Every time you make one of those choices, you grow stronger, not just emotionally, but mentally. And the more solid you become on the inside, the more power you carry without saying a word. You don't intimidate people by pretending to be something you're not. You intimidate them when you show up fully as you are without apology. When you speak the truth clearly and calmly. When you stand by your beliefs without needing everyone to agree. When you say no without guilt. That level of strength unsettles people who are used to convincing others, manipulating outcomes, or relying on emotional pressure to get their way. They're not used to someone who stays calm while holding their ground. Mental strength comes from mastering your reactions. When you stop being controlled by mood swings, insecurities, or the need to be liked, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Not reckless, but steady, not aggressive, but cool, not loud, but respected. You don't back down from challenges. You don't get thrown off by criticism. You don't shrink in the presence of stronger personalities. You stand there clear, unshaken, and ready. That energy can't be faked. To build this kind of presence, you have to start by being brutally honest with yourself. Where do you fold under pressure? When do you play small? What conversations do you avoid? What habits are softening your edge? You can't build mental power without self-awareness. And awareness doesn't mean shame. It means owning where you are and deciding where you're headed. Strength comes from facing yourself and doing the work every single day. You also need to stop living for comfort. The stronger your mind becomes, the less you rely on comfort to feel stable. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need constant motivation. You stop saying things like, "I'm just not feeling it today." And you start saying, "This matters, so I'll do it anyway." That shift changes everything. You don't need emotions to carry you. You carry yourself. There's something deeply powerful about a person who stays committed when no one's watching, who holds their word when it's inconvenient, who doesn't flinch when someone questions them. You earn that strength through discipline. And discipline is built in the quiet parts of the day when no one else is checking. When you choose to push through the reps, follow the routine, speak with purpose, and respect your time, you build an internal system that doesn't crack under pressure. And here's the truth. People who live with no structure are intimidated by those who do. People who avoid discomfort are uncomfortable around those who lean into it. People who constantly seek attention are confused by those who don't need it. That's where intimidation comes from. Not because you're trying to make anyone feel small, but because your presence reminds them of what they're avoiding. You also become mentally strong when you stop letting your past define you. Everyone has pain. Everyone has been through some, but some people use it as fuel, while others use it as an excuse. You get to decide which one you'll be. Owning your story without being owned by it makes you powerful. It tells the world, yes, I've been hurt, but I'm not fragile. I've been challenged, but I'm still here. That resilience intimidates weakness. Strong minds speak with clarity. They don't sugarcoat the truth. They don't say what's popular just to fit in. They don't play games and they don't allow guilt to replace logic. They speak directly, calmly, and with intent. That type of communication cuts through noise. It gets people's attention because it's rare. Most people overt talk, overjustify, or overreact. When you don't, you stand out. Another layer of strength comes from emotional discipline. You're not controlled by praise or crushed by criticism. You don't chase validation or hide from challenge. You stay balanced, and that balance lets you lead yourself and others. When others are emotional, you stay grounded. When others rush, you move with control. That kind of presence becomes impossible to ignore. And when you get to that level, you stop chasing people. You stop needing their approval to feel enough. You're no longer afraid of being misunderstood or left out because you've built a mind that doesn't need outside permission to stay strong. You've built stability on your own term. And people who haven't done that work will either be drawn to your strength or quietly challenged by it. Either way, your presence will be felt. Mental strength isn't about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about facing it head on and doing the right thing anyway. It's about holding your posture in the storm. About choosing the hard path even when no one's cheering. About becoming so steady, so focused, so intentional that people can't shake you no matter how hard they try. And once you've built that level of strength, you no longer react to everything around you. You observe, you process, you decide, you act. That control earns you influence. People notice, they watch how you move. They listen when you speak. Not because you demand it, but because your consistent makes them trust you. This is what it means to become mentally strong enough to intimidate. You don't need to force it. You don't need to act tough. You just need to become the kind of person who stays solid in every room, every challenge, every conversation. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've spent time building a mind that doesn't bend under pressure. And here's the most important part. This strength is available to anyone willing to do the work. You don't need special talent. You need commitment. You need discipline. You need honesty. You need daily actions that build the version of you that no one can shake. So choose to become that person. Not to intimidate people through fear, but to remind them what it looks like to be fully in control of your life. Let your mindset be so steady, so intentional, so unbreakable that people can't help but notice. That's how real respect is earned. That's how